And we are live, guys. Welcome to another live stream from the Three Girls in Love channel. My name is Joseph Darling. Today we're talking about rejection. And we're going to talk about it in terms of masculinity and femininity. And understand that this is probably one of the biggest topics of my entire channel. Okay? So I'm not going to be able to cover it in this small video all on its own. And I'm speaking live, and I'm speaking without a manuscript, so I just have a few notes here, and I'm gonna try and put it as simply as possible. But I can tell you right now that you're not gonna get it completely. Okay, so ask questions. Make sure you comment down below so I can help you to understand the depth that I understand this principle in terms of how it works for women and how it works for feminine men. Okay, so first of all, we need to understand that rejection has to do with caring, okay? So basically, when you are rejected, you have an option, hopefully. And that option is, should I care about this rejection or should I not care about this rejection? This has to do with, very often with what we call the subconscious mind and the I don't even know all of the proper terms for it, but you understand that you have your subconscious mind and then you have your conscious mind. And basically, your conscious mind has the ability, or should have the ability, to stop what comes into the subconscious mind if you have discipline. Okay, so if I talk to men, they have to get to the point where their conscious mind stops whatever they don't want to enter into their subconscious mind and allows things to enter into their subconscious mind that they want to allow into their subconscious mind. Well, what's the difference? Why would we not want things to enter into our subconscious mind? Is because what happens in your subconscious is automatic. Okay, it means that if something enters there that it's not supposed to be there, it becomes habitual. Meaning, let's say, for example, someone tell you that you suck, you suck, you suck, you suck, you suck, and you get it from multiple people. Let's say, for example, the video that I made with Will and Jada last week. I literally got more than 600 comments that told me that I suck, right? So me as a masculine man, I have the ability to understand rationally that just because a lot of people tell me that I suck, I know personally I don't suck. Okay, so that means that I can shut off the conscious, the fact that they tell me that I suck, and I can cut it off, and then it doesn't reach my subconscious. Because if it reaches my subconscious and I don't have the ability to control my thoughts, okay, the ability to control my thoughts means that I can actually literally hear what they're saying and then boom, flat out reject it. It hits my subconscious wall because I can control my thoughts. Why? Because I have my defense. My defense is that I know I'm awesome. Do you understand what I mean? Like, that's part of my confidence. No matter how much people tell me I suck, okay? And I have a few individuals in my life who don't believe I suck, who literally think I'm awesome, right? In many different aspects. And so my rational brain is, who am I going to listen to? Okay? I know I suck in a lot of ways, but to believe inherently that I suck and then have that dominate my mind would alter my destiny, would make my future uncertain, would make me doubt myself when I make decisions, etc., etc. It's not wise for me to believe that other people tell me that I suck. Do you understand what I mean? So I have to use my defense of what they're what I know from the past, that I'm awesome. And that and I have that wall to stop my subconscious from entering. Okay, I didn't even put this in my notes, but it's a crucial aspect to understand because it requires discipline, a lot of discipline, to stop, okay, whatever is coming into your brain from going into the subconscious. Because what enters into the subconscious will be will become your habits, your habitual thinking. And that's what you're going to draw, like your whole life experience is going to draw from your subconscious mind and then perform emotions and perform behaviors and thoughts based upon the information that's in there. This is why it's crucial that you dilute negativity with as much positivity as possible. Preferably, you should have tons of positivity in your life. But okay, so let's move on from there. Now that I'm telling you about rejection, I'm getting there. As a woman, you're going to struggle to get rid of rejection completely, obviously, because it's life. Life is hard, okay? Very often. And it gets harder and harder the older you become, right? Because in the beginning of your life, you basically, as a baby, you got everything you needed. Like, you know, whenever you cry, then you would get, you would get booby, or you would get the toy that, you know, you wanted, or you understand, like, you would cry about something in your vicinity. If you were not comfortable, then that would be a rejection, and then you'd cry about it, which was a good thing, because then that would be immediate feedback to your parents or the people that were taking care of you that something needs to be solved, and something needs to be solved immediately. You were allowing the truth to be told. Okay? Why? Because you were expressing yourself. That's what babies do. That's what children do. They express their emotions. This is how I feel. This is the truth of what's going on right now. As you become older, or even in your childhood, you will have parents very often who will tell you, don't cry, or don't feel like this, or you should discipline yourself and don't do this. No, 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 no. So eventually, over time, what happens to you as a child is that you begin to constrict yourself, and because you care, okay, understand this, femininity cares. Masculinity, they have the ability to choose to not care. So if we understand this, children don't have the ability to not care. The older boys become, you'll notice that the more selfish they become, the more they choose to not care over time. However, very often you'll see that girls are very easy in terms of in their childhood, because they'll do anything you want them to do. The same thing with boys until a certain point. Once, you know, within there are some discrepancies. Okay, I can't go into every single age, like between the age of 2 and 3, that's when they're really difficult, blah blah blah. They're toddlers and they're not getting what they want, and so they rebel and all that stuff. And also once boys begin to get into the age of 6, 7, 8, and now they're getting older, they're also going to rebel. But I'm just telling you from a general standpoint, femininity does not have the ability to not care. And between the ages of 0 to 7, 8 years old, I sometimes have said 9 in the past, but I'm beginning to understand that it's actually 8, okay? It begins a little bit earlier. From 0 to 8 years old, you'll notice that boys and girls are equally feminine, in the sense that they have estrogen and testosterone in the same degrees. Okay, they're growing approximately the same way. Their muscle mass is approximately the same way. Like, they're kind of the same in many aspects, and they also think the same way. Almost, okay? There are obvious differences if you just simply allow nature to take its place. But what does this have to do with rejection? Well, understand that when you tell a child to do something, let's say, for example, I tell my daughter to go and get me some water. If she is unburdened, okay, that's femininity. Understand this. If she's unburdened, she will have no problems, none whatsoever, doing the thing that I desire for her to do. Because I'm asking her to do something very simple, something very small that she knows how to do, right? It's not, she's not being rejected by fear because she's never done it before. She's not being rejected by whatever else I could use as an example. It's simple. She just needs to go and get the water, and she knows that if she doesn't get the water, then, I'll be sad. Do you understand what I mean? So, me being sad, my needs not being met, is a rejection in her mind for her. If she's feminine and she cares, then she'll also not only care about herself, but she'll care about everyone else in her vicinity. If you'll notice this when girls hear babies cry, or when they see someone that's hurt, or if they see they personalize everything. Okay, they see an animal that's being hurt, they're like, no, don't hurt the animal. Do you understand what I mean? Like, that's femininity. They don't want to leave anyone behind, and they don't want anyone to have pain, and they don't want anyone to be sad. This is a positive thing. This is beauty in the making. There's a reason why, people say that, just look at kids. Kids are amazing. We should become more like kids. Because kids, like, they care about you. They listen to you, and they want to serve you, and they want to be your friend. No matter who you are. They don't judge. They accept. They're inclusive. Okay, if they're unburdened. Now, if they begin to become burdened, that's a different story. Because you begin to burden kids, they now have to begin to be in survival mode. Okay, like femininity in its childhood has pretty much not much of rejections, because they're being provided for with food, they're being provided for with, toys. Sometimes they're rejected because, the parents don't have the capacity or the funds to do whatever the kids want to do immediately. But the cool part about kids is that they immediately forget. Okay? Like, it's a good thing. They forget. It's like, oh, they're really sad about something, and then they move on to the next thing because they're environmental creatures. So you basically put something else into their environment that's kind of fun, that's kind of exciting, that boosts their emotions. They forget about the thing that they were sad about in the past. It's very beautiful in a sense, because it helps you as a parent. Dealing with kids is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. Ever. Because they're so difficult to understand sometimes, but if you understand masculinity and femininity, the journey becomes so much easier. Oh my gosh. Okay, so if you understand these foundational things that I explained just now, you're going to begin to understand women on a massive scale. Because you got to understand. And now I'm talking to you, really, women. I'm talking to you, helping you to understand yourself. Okay? A lot of times people are like saying to me, like, how can you call women children? I'm not calling them children in a sense. Okay? But I'm saying that women should be allowed to do whatever they want to do and to follow their emotions. Okay? And then it's men's job to protect them from the rejection that could happen as a consequence of their emotions. So I'm saying that women, the more feminine they are, okay, the more they should, the more they care, and the more happy they'll be. Because if you look at it from an unburdened standpoint, as a woman, you want to be unburdened. You don't want continuous, massive amounts of rejection from 1,000 angles. You don't want to experience what I experienced last week with 500, 600 people telling me that I suck, right? That's one of the worst things that could happen to you, but then you'll be disciplined and no, I know that I'm this and this and this. The thing is that the more you discipline yourself, the more masculine you're becoming, the more of an adult you're becoming, the more of a man you're becoming. Why would you want that in the first place? Why would you not want to remain in the same aspect of receiving everything that you want at any point in time, always, according to and based upon your emotions? So I'm not calling women children, but I'm explaining that they are like unto children, okay? Like they are like children in the sense that it is wise for us as a world to have a society where women are allowed to express their emotions continuously. Because if they do not do so, they still have femininity. Femininity is their base nature. That's your base nature as a woman. It's femininity. And you'll notice that the more feminine you become, the happier you are. The more excited about life you are, the more bubbly you are, the more your hormones are working correctly according to how the design was made from the beginning. Right? The more masculine you become, the more your health declines, the less you're able to control your emotions and your thoughts and the negativity that you experience, right? The more you try to control yourself as a woman, the less you're able to control yourself. Remember this, always, forever. The more you try to control yourself, the less you'll be able to control yourself long term. Okay? You are designed in such a way that you are inconsistent, and that's okay. You want inconsistency in your life. Why? Because consistency is boring. Consistency is mundane. Consistency in the long term might help someone to get exactly what it is that they want. But if women apply consistently, boring, mundane, boring, mundane, boring, mundane, rejection, 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 boring, mundane, guess what's going to happen to you as a woman if you apply that principle? You're going to hate your life. That's what's going to happen. You're going to die emotionally inside here and physically, I might add, because what happens inside here with your emotions will become your reality in the physical world. Okay? So what you feel inside here, the negativity that you have and the dead emotions, that comes from you being burdened. That comes from the world, and very often men especially, heaping burdens and rejection on top of you. Like massive amounts of weight. Okay? And you trying to hold all of this weight up, but you can't, and you get slammed into the ground again and again and again and again, and it's horrific. It's not nice to be a woman when you're not able to not care. Right? Because every single rejection, you want it to stop. You want to solve the problem. Right? And if you... Okay, but how does this mesh with women who are obviously not caring about people? Because there are tons of those. Yeah, they're massively burdened. Okay, and the reason why they're not caring is not because they don't, because they choose to not care. It's because they don't have capacity to care anymore. They're either emotionally dead inside and they're not emotionally involved. Okay, so let's say, for example, a woman is not emotionally involved, so she doesn't care about the thing that's not in her vicinity. Out of sight, out of mind, very often. But if it's in her vicinity, and it's a rejection, you better believe a woman is going to care about it if she has capacity for it. If she's drowning in rejection and issues and problems and blah, 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 then she won't have capacity for it, and that's the time when she chooses to not care anymore. Do you understand how all of this works? This is the psychology of women. It's very simple, okay, once you begin to understand it. That's why I say female nature is a male science. Because there's so many different aspects and details to it that is very difficult to understand, even for you as a woman, when it's happening to you. Right? It's kind of like you practice something again and again and again, but then when the real thing happens, then it's like emotions overtakes you and it overpowers your rational brain. Emotions. Have you seen women who like are beaten up, like completely massive domestic violence, and then they irrationally still want to be with that man? It's irrational. It's based upon emotions. It's based upon her being emotionally involved and her wanting to solve the rejection that just happened to her. She cannot help it. She's a woman. Okay? She's feminine. That's her foundational nature. So if she's feminine, she's not going to be able to not care. So if she's not able to not care, she's going to try to solve the problem. Unless she's rescued by someone else who manages to give her everything that she needs without her having to worry about any other rejection. Do you begin to see what I'm talking about here? So, again, women are not children, but in many aspects, it would be very wise if we help them to not be rejected at all, in the same way that we don't want kids to be rejected. They're so amazing. Kids are so amazing because they care. They love you naturally, unconditionally, because you're there, right? Because you've been there for them continuously. So it seems like it's unconditional. It's conditional, though, because it's femininity. I've spoken about that before, that the femininity does not have capacity for unconditional love. There is no such thing as unconditional love from femininity. It's based on environment. However, if the conditions are met consistently and continuously forevermore, that femininity has unconditional love. Wow. Understand these principles and your life will be blown. Like, your mind will be blown. Your life will be amazing once you understand these principles, because then you can begin to apply the things that are necessary in order for you as a woman to eliminate as much rejection from your life as possible, because you're unable to not care. And you want to remain in your femininity because that was your design from the beginning. That's what we're trying to achieve here, is to help women to be as unrejected and as unburdened as possible. And it's quite impossible, right? Because this is what I say to people about responsibilities. Okay, listen to this. It sounds wonderful in theory, what I'm talking about, right? But when you've got life thrown at you, it's impossible to fight it. Like, how can I be unrejected? It's impossible. Like, people reject me on a daily basis. Life rejects me on a daily basis because I'm hungry. Like, the moment you get hungry, that's a rejection. Oh, guess what? As a woman, you'll care. Oh, I need to eat something. I need to give myself nutrition. And if you choose to not care, to feed yourself, let's say, for example, you're trying to apply intermittent fasting and you're not supposed to eat after 8 o'clock or after 6 o'clock or whatever it is, that's going to require discipline, isn't it? That's going to require for you to not follow your emotions, to not do the thing that you know is your emotion. Your emotion is telling you to go and grab some food. Okay, but then it requires discipline, it requires masculinity for you to stop yourself from doing that. So, what happens when you've got too many problems, too many issues, and your emotions are screaming at you that you want the thing that you're addicted to? That you know, the brownie or whatever it is, you know, the chocolate bar that you absolutely love. If you've been so burdened all day with tons of rejection from everywhere, guess what you're going to do? You're going to listen to your emotion. Why? Because femininity is your base nature. Emotion trumps everything when it comes to femininity. So if you know that, then you'll know, again, what I said earlier about if the more you try to control yourself, the more masculine you want to be, the less you'll be able to control yourself. Meaning, the more you will go towards femininity and experience the problems that femininity gives you, but they will be negative feminine stuff. Okay? It will be immediate gratification. Doing things that you were not designed to do, that your body was not designed to do, but you have to do it because your emotions are screaming, because your emotions want you to return to femininity on a daily, continual basis. Why do you think your emotions are screaming to have a cigarette? Because you're burdened, because you're masculine. Why do you think your emotions are screaming for you to go partying this weekend? Okay? Especially during this corona's time, right? You haven't been able to party for a long time and be with your friends and enjoy femininity, estrogen, and enjoy, having stimulants in your life and doing, things with other people. So you're going to return to femininity and drink on your own, maybe, or pop happy pills because you can't handle it. You can't handle the rejection and the problems that it's bringing to your life. Okay, hold on for a second. Think about that for 5 seconds as I close the door to my kids because they've woken up. Hold on a second. Is this going to be part 1? There's so much to talk about. All right, so caring is based upon intense emotions. Okay, the more intense emotions, the more you'll care. You have to understand that very often women, because of this, their lives suck and they wish they were men. Okay? They wish they were men because they look at men and they're like, how is it possible that he is so consistent? How is it possible that he can actually manage to control his behavior and be disciplined and do those things that he's doing, and I'm not able to do that? I hate that. I want to be like a man. I'm going to train harder. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be disciplined. I'm going to blah, blah, blah. Because of your intense emotions. You care. You're rejected because you're competing against men when you're not supposed to. We have different roles. Okay? We have different roles. And it's not unequal. And inequality between men and women is not a problem. As the only problem happens when men are using their unequal power, so to speak, in a wrong manner. If they're feminine, if they're trying to force things on you, if they're trying to tell you what to do when you don't want to do what they do, or what they want you to do. Do you understand what I mean? Like patriarchy in the past, it was force, a bunch of force, okay? And women, because of this, have wanted to now become equal in power with men, because men have sucked for all these generations of time, okay? But the time when inequality becomes beautiful is when men, the correct men, trustworthy men, honorable men, integral men, okay, wealthy men, who are men of high value, elevate you, okay, so that you actually do get to be on a pedestal, right? Have you heard that saying? Don't put the pussy on the pedestal, right? That's what the manosphere is talking about these days. The moment you elevate her and look at her as, oh wow, she's absolutely amazing, blah, 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 and like you're basically giving her power in the relationship. So as a man, that's a very bad idea, because the moment she has power in the relationship, then she loses all attraction for you and disappears, okay? That's why men are taught that don't put her on a pedestal. Is the worst thing you could do. It's way better if you tear her down. How is that sustainable long term? How does that help women long term? How does that help kids long term to tear women down? But it works attraction wise, okay? As long as you do it, not too much, but a little bit every single day. Just, tease her. And then reject her by not answering her messages, and by, being oblivious to her or flirting with other women, etc., etc., etc. Do you understand how warped men become when they're feminine and are seeking for immediate gratification and just to use and abuse you and then move on? And then you actually kind of like the abuse, a little bit, because he's a man of high value and he's attractive and you want him and you can't have him, and and then you're screwed because you wish you were with him. And also he rejected you, so guess what? Because of your feminine nature, you are unable to not care about the rejection. So even if you actually manage to somehow, he's a douchebag, I don't want to have anything to do with him, your self-worth will have lowered because it will be based upon your ability to get that guy. So in the future, whenever you see a higher value man than the guy that you were with in the past who rejected you, your subconscious mind will tell you that, oh, but I don't deserve that guy. So I'm actually there instead. My self-worth is there. And, and that's basically what I deserve. So you'll actually just take what you think you deserve when you're actually supposed to deserve exactly what it is that you want. Understand female nature. You get it from this channel. I can explain it all, okay? In terms of female nature. Understand the woman. You'll understand the world. Understand yourself. It's a male science, but it can be explained to women. So that at least you know. So whenever something happens to you, or rejection comes at you, or people do this and this to you, and you feel the way you feel, you can easily be reminded by someone else, preferably, right, in your environment. Because your environment, when you're emotional about something and you care about something, you won't think about what you know. You won't remember it. Because your emotions are too intense. So you need people around you continuously and consistently telling you it's not your fault. Because it's not. It's the environment that you're in. That's the problem. So the goal is for us as a society to get to the point where we can help women enter into the correct environment, not based on what we as men or we think as a society is the correct environment, but based upon universal principles of female nature. That's what I mean when I say correct environment. I'm not telling women what they should and should not do. Because if I do that as a man, they're not going to listen to me anyway, because telling women what they should and should not do is a rejection. I'm basically telling them, if I actually did tell them you should or should not do something, I'm telling them to be masculine. Right? There are some things that like, this sounds like it's completely paradoxical and oxymoron, compared to the last video that I made, right? About how to prepare for a 3 Girls in Love lifestyle, right? Because there I say you should do this, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this, right? So how can you connect those two? If I shouldn't, as a man, tell women what to do and what they should and should not do, etc. You gotta understand that the only way you can do those things that I asked you to do in the past is if you have no burdens whatsoever. I'm basically heaping burdens on top of you even more, which causes you to follow your emotions even more to your destruction. Right? But we have to start somewhere. We have to help you to understand these things. But most importantly, the biggest thing that I can do for you women is to prepare you men of massive value. That's the only thing I really can do. Like, this channel in many aspects is for men, even though it's for you women. But it's kind of like you're not able to do much about it if you are already massively heaped upon and burdened, right? Because you can't change. Change requires consistency. And consistency is one of the elusive things that women, in many aspects, if they get it, they are sacrificing all happiness and all enjoyment and basically all of their relationships and their health for it. Why? Because if they apply consistency and are trying to be consistent, and they don't balance that up with massive amounts of estrogen, massive amounts of femininity, massive amounts of bubbliness and joy and excitement and femininity, then they're going to become more and more masculine, and over time, this masculinity chips away at their health and at their emotions until they eventually become emotionally dead and unsatisfied with life, and keep using substances and drugs and abuse their bodies with things that are bad for them. Do you want that? You don't want that. But again, it's not your fault. The same way that it's not children's fault that they don't obey you or obey their parents, because they don't know better. They go according to what their emotions are telling you as a parent. So if you as a parent want to help your kids, you've got to figure out what their emotions are and only talk to them, in a corrective manner when their emotions actually function. Okay, this is what we said the other day to my mom. She loved this quote, and we found it somewhere else, but it was connection before correction. Why? It's all about emotions. If you as a parent, I'm telling you this again, there's so much things to know. If you as a parent yell at your kids, guess what's going to happen? Nothing. You're literally causing them to rebel against you. I'm telling you as a mother now, you get some bonus tips now if you have kids, or in the future when you do have kids. You want their emotions to be receptive to what you're saying. But if their emotions are yelling at them, they already have their emotions, and there's emotions going on because they're feminine, right? They can't control their thoughts, they can't control their emotions, they can't control their behavior consistently over the long term, and they have to discipline themselves in order to listen to you yelling at them. Do you think that any of that yelling is going to get through to their subconscious mind? No, because they're burdened. It's too much heaped upon them all at the same time. The only way that you can correct your kids the right way, and hopefully they'll get it, is through connection first. Physical touch, bringing them in, hugging them, allowing them to express their feelings and their thoughts and their emotions. Seeking to understand them first so that they can, follow their natural feminine way of seeking to be understood first. And then seeking to understand later, right? You as a parent have to be masculine in order for them to be feminine and be receptive as feminine creatures. That's what sucks about being a woman, a mother. Because the more you become a mother, all by yourself, the more masculine you're going to be. But then you have the feminine aspect of being a mother and seeing your kids grow up and those amazing emotions that come from connection. But then when there's a rejection, when the kids don't like you or are upset with you or hate you and all that stuff, that's the struggle as a mother. That's one of the aspects why 3 Girls in Love, as I explain on this channel. Understand the name of this channel is 3 Girls in Love. How does it function? It's 1 man, 3 mothers, 3 women. They're not mothers to him. They're mothers to his kids. But do you understand what I mean? 3 women who are together mothering their children. And if that happens, it's so much easier. And especially if the man takes care of all the worldly problems, make sure that they're provided for luxuriously and protected luxuriously, right? In the sense that there is no fear, there's no insecurity, there's tons of equality in the home. Then the mothers can be unburdened and feminine in a sense, and they'll care when their kids are not feeling the right way, and then they'll swoop in there, come in there, connect first, and then correct. But correct in the sense that just to help them understand how it works, okay? And we need you to do this, and it would be very nice if you do this, and and we'll work it out together. It's going to become better. It'll improve, I promise. And you give them a hug, and everything's going to be okay. Win-win situations, okay? Now you've basically applied masculinity because you sought to understand them first before you sought to be understood. But very often what's happening these days is that mothers are seeking to be understood, and then the kids are seeking to be understood, and that's the escalation of femininity. And then you get rah, and they're all yelling at each other, and you get disharmony, and you get difficult childhoods, which causes a dysfunctional society. Understand the woman, you'll understand the world. Understand femininity, it's really where it's at. I'm going to end there. There's tons more I could say about rejection. I had so many notes, guys. So I suppose I will do a part 2. Let's check out the questions. Thank you so much for watching. Let's see what we got here. One question. My female best friend rejected me. It felt bad at first, only because I never experienced rejection before. After facing over 30 plus rejections in various aspects of life, I can take on new challenges. So, thank you for mentioning that. And I can explain that too. Like, femininity in women is great. Femininity in men, once they get their testosterone and their sexual drives, is bad. Horrific. Okay? It is not what you want to see. You don't want to see a massive increase in testosterone, which happens, by the way, 10 to 12 times more testosterone than women. That's what's normal. Okay? A very masculine man will probably get that up to 20 or 30 times more than a feminine woman. Or more. Okay? Because you understand how that functions. A feminine man will take offense all the time. Why? Because he cannot choose to not care. And he's not disciplined his subconscious mind in such a way so that when he does get rejection from all these different angles, which happens a lot to feminine men, their self-worth is lower as a result. Because their self-worth is lower, they feel that they're not in control of their destiny, and they're not in control of their environment, and when that happens, they get demotivated, and when that happens, they basically try to force their will on other people, and maybe they start yelling, and maybe they start using violence, and maybe they start using revenge, and maybe you don't want that in your life as a woman, right? Feminine men is the worst news that this world have ever seen, and again, I'm not talking about homosexuals. I'm talking about the hybrid of masculine men who are feminine. Massively feminine because it's all about immediate gratification. There's no control of their thoughts, no controls of their emotions, no control of their behavior. And when you get that, you get war. Violence, war, pestilence, famine, all the crap that the societies have gone through throughout the ages has been because women were burdened, which causes the kids to become burdened, and the reason why these burdens were there in the first place was because men sucked. Okay? So men are the solution, but they're also the problem. Like, men will look at this and they'll be like, no, it's women who's the problem because men are simple. Men are this and that and the other, and we actually control ourselves. But women don't control themselves. So they should be the ones who control themselves. Women are the problem. No. Women are perfect. They're designed perfectly, and they are simply a feedback to what the man's behavior is like and his either ability to control his thoughts, emotions, and behavior, or his inability to control his thoughts, his emotions, and behavior. She's a mirror of him and his actions. So if you as a woman feel that things are off, things are not working, guess what? It's because you're with a sucky guy. That's the truth. He's the one who can solve this problem. He's the one who can lead us to a better world. There's tons of people out there these days that are saying that femininity, we just need more femininity. If the whole world was feminine, and we, go away from this masculine thinking that's out there, toxic masculinity, then the world would become a better place. No, it's going to become exponentially worse until men begin to figure it out, and then we begin to lead women the right way again, right? I've always explained this. I took it from the book Slight Edge, where he explains that in order for you to go to the moon with the rocket ship, this is the last thing I'm going to say, you have a gyroscope or gyroscope, or I don't know how it's spelled or said, but this gyroscope is basically no matter where you start off on planet Earth, there's a gyroscope. You don't have to aim a specific way, right? We got to put the rocket ship right here or else we're not going to hit the moon. That's not how it works. They have a compass, a gyroscope. so that they can shoot off anywhere in the world, anywhere in any direction. And guess what? The gyroscope will tip the rocket ship to this side, and then it'll tip to this side, and then it'll tip to this side, and tip to this side, and continuously on the journey, it becomes closer and closer and closer until they exactly know, boom, they exactly know where on the moon they want to land. If that makes sense. Like, in theory, that's how it works. But in practical terms, very often their gyroscope sucks and things don't happen the way they thought, and they didn't expect these asteroids to come in and create waves. And do you understand what I mean? Like, it's not as easy as it sounds, but that's how gyroscopes work. And that's exactly how society works. If you understand that eventually we will all come to a unity of the truth, that which works in the long run, in the big scheme of things, that thought alone is absolutely amazing. It is so comforting. It is so hopeful. It gives you faith. It gives you motivation to keep going, to not give up, right? To not commit suicide, to not, do things that are bad for you, because it will improve. But on that journey, it's going to get worse before it gets better. And then it gets worse again and gets better. And then we keep moving until it is absolutely amazing. Like I explained on the Men of High Value channel with the happiness scale of 1 to 10, it's logarithmic, meaning when you actually manage to create an exponential growth curve, right? And it goes up to 10 and you are on an exponential growth curve, you're not going to stick at 10 and 10, oh, I'm so happy. It's so nice. No, it's a logarithmic scale in the sense that you go to 100. You go to 1,000. You go to 10,000 in happiness, even though it's a 1 to 10 scale. That's what I want for you guys, to understand how to experience true bliss, joy, and happiness consistently. And as a woman, without unnecessary rejections. The only rejections you want to have in your life are the things you want to do. Rejection is not a bad thing if you've got tons of capacity. And we haven't even scratched the surface of the capacity that women have. Women are absolutely amazing. It is insane. They are the stronger species. If you want to compare women to men, the capacity for pleasure that women have, the capacity for happiness that women have, the capacity to serve, to care that women have, it is unsubstantiated, so much better than men's, that you need to understand this one thing. The first shall become the last, and the last shall become the first. Men have been first forever, and they've sucked, okay? And women have been last. But understand that in the future, women will become first and men will become last. And you know what? As men, we won't mind. Because we are leaders. And we understand that as leaders, we have to put others ahead of our own needs. Because that's the only way to progress towards truth, joy, and happiness. By putting others, and especially our women and children, ahead of ourselves. Because if you do that, that's when you've escalated women to be on the pedestal while you are the leader. A servant leader, but a servant leader who has massive amounts of power. And this is why monogamy is not going to cut it. Because you elevate women, but you can't elevate women for long, because at a certain point, women become demotivated because she doesn't have the pull anymore. The pull, you know what the pull is? Is being around a man of amazing exponential value and him actually wanting your attention and wanting to be with you and wanting to give you pleasure. That's what you want. You want the pull, but you can't get the pull in monogamy. You'll just simply be his friend and you won't be lovers. So you lose motivation, you lose capacity, you lose your potential. Again, the 3 Girls in Love movement and masculinity and femininity and the Men of High Value movement, all of this is to give women motivation, capacity, happiness, and exponential growth in their role. And the beautiful thing is if men create that for women, they're massively rewarded as well, both immediately and long term. This is the Men of High Value channel. No, it's not. It's the 3 Girls in Love channel. My name is Joseph Darling. I'll see you in the next one.